Well, a big change of tone from Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's apologized to Donald Trump. Earlier this week, Ginsburg called Trump a faker and said he was unfit to be president. Trump fired back on Twitter, saying her mind was shot. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid is here. I want to read first the statement here. It says, on reflection, my recent remarks in response to press inquiries were ill-advised, and I regret making them. Judges should avoid commenting on a candidate for public office. In the future, I will be more circumspect. To be honest, there's no legal ruling. It's not legal that she's making her comments, but there is sort of an understood rule. You don't do this on the bench.
Exactly. You don't lose your First Amendment once you take the bench. But there is a tradition at the Supreme Court of not coming out and speaking out on political campaigns like this. Really was unprecedented. You know, when you have the New York Times editorial board and Donald Trump both agreeing that something is inappropriate, you know you're in a really unique place.
So was this statement then forced?
It's probably, she was under considerable pressure, I'm sure, to make this kind of statement and to just reiterate that it is not the custom and it is not the tradition of the Supreme Court to speak out on this. I mean, it is not becoming of a Supreme Court justice to come out and call someone names.
Paula, she's the oldest Supreme Court justice, 83 years old. We know a lot about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She is very vocal. She's very passionate. She's very liberal. Do you think it's now time for her to step down? Will there be calls for that?
Probably not at this time. I don't think that she's going to want to step down because, as we saw with Merrick Garland, it's very difficult for the current president to get any nominee through, and that would leave 2 vacancies. We don't know what's going to happen in November, so I'm sure that she won't step down right now. I think hopefully this apology, in her mind and the mind of many people, will hopefully soothe this over for her for a little while. In her mind, we don't know what the actual political consequences been, because for 3 weeks she has gone out and given multiple interviews, and she has repeatedly criticized and name-called. It's just not done by Supreme Court justices. Furthermore, Chief Justice Roberts has worked so hard during his time as Chief Justice to try to restore the image of the court as a neutral political body. And right now, Rena, in Washington, there's just so few institutions that people trust. Congress, the Department of Justice, people see everything as a partisan body. He was trying so hard to change that for the Supreme Court, and comments like this do not help that.
You know, a lot of people are wondering if you have a situation like you did after the 2000 election with the land of hanging chads in Florida, where the Supreme Court actually had to weigh in. What happens? I mean, they're dead neck and neck right now in the polls. If there was some sort of issue with the elections come November, how will that impact the ruling?
Once again, it'll probably make it harder for the public to accept whatever decision. Comments like this, behavior like this, breaking with tradition, it increases many people's opinion that the Supreme Court, just like Congress or the White House, is a political body. We saw this just a couple weeks ago with the Department of Justice, and the weeks before they came out with one of their most controversial decisions. We saw Loretta Lynch meeting with former President Clinton, and in a lot of people's eyes, that really tainted the outcome. So when you do things that have pretty much nothing to do with your job, she really isn't in a position where she is required to give opinions. She's not a pundit. It really does make it difficult for her to do her day job and for her decisions to be accepted by the general public as nonpartisan.
I'm asking you to step out on a limb here, but why do you think she made these comments? Like, why do it?
I think she thought she had an informed opinion, which is why she wanted to share it. But again, she's not a pundit. She's a Supreme Court justice, and there is a long tradition of them not issuing opinions. And again, it veered from just simply opinion to straight up name calling, and which is why she was chastised by many people on both sides of the aisle, including the New York Times editorial board.
Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg officially making a statement today apologizing for her comments, saying, on reflection, my recent remarks in response to press inquiries were ill-advised, and I regret making them. Judges should avoid commenting on a candidate for public office. In the future, I will be more circumspect. What do you think John Roberts had to say about this?
I'm sure that he was pleased with this statement, but he probably would have preferred that the statement not have to have been made. It's a very traditional body. We still don't have cameras in the courtroom. It's very much based on tradition and respect and reverence. You know it's an important place. And if you come out and you start calling people names, that's not a very dignified way to behave. And now Ruth Bader Ginsburg has taken on sort of a celebrity status. There are T-shirts, mugs, memes with the notorious RBG. She has taken on this sort of celebrity status late in her life. But again, no one believes that it is appropriate to come out and call people names when you are a Supreme Court justice.
Well, notorious RBG gets a whole new level to that name now. Paula Reid, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.